The first step is to just know your numbers. And I know probably heard it a million times before, but it's kind of like facing your front. Look at what's going on. If that gives you anxiety, you have to push through that. So rather than feeling disempowered by looking at the numbers, you've got an opportunity to do something about it, but you need to know what's going on before you can make effective changes.
Hi, so Max back with the podcast. I'm here with Selina. Is it Flavius?
It is, yeah. It's perfect.
And what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself to the audience rather than me giving you a bio so that you can really focus on what is you want the audience to know about you.
Yeah, so hi everybody. My name is Selina Flavius. I'm a published author. So my book, Black Girl Finance, Let's Talk Money, came out in 2021. And it's a wonderful personal finance book all about being a Black woman and managing money. I'm also the founder of Black Girl Finance. We do a yearly event called Black Girl Finance Festival, all about empowering Black women when it comes to their money. So again, the money management skills and tools.
And your journey into this field, so was it business development that you started in? So you come from a certain area, like everyone comes from different places. So can you talk a little bit about how you got to here?
Yeah, so my journey is probably not the traditional journey that I hear from other people who work in the field. My career now is like my first love, but it's like my second actual career. So I spent a long time after I dropped out of university, being completely honest, working in business development. So I spent the last sort of 15 or so years working in business development. And along the way, I mean, I don't know if any of your viewers have worked in like a business development environment. Typically you're around people who, they're earning quite a decent salary and they want to have assets. They might want to live the flashy life as well and spend a lot of money, but also they tend to have, be on the property ladder or tend to have some sort of savings or investment. And I remember being in my office and like those people that I was in the office with, they were the first people to start talking about like cryptocurrency before it became sort of mainstream in 2020. So they were having conversations and investing in Bitcoin from before. So there was always this little buzz around kind of investments. And I remember I had a colleague who was really into investing and he used to talk about investing in Burberry shares. And I had an interest in this subject. When I was deciding what to do for A-level, I went down the science route rather than I toyed with the idea of doing an economics A-level. So the interest in the was always there. And I think just being around colleagues who were investing, after going through a bit of a period of not managing my money myself in the best way, after getting better at handling my money, I wanted to share that information. So, Black Girl Finance allowed me to do that. So, and it ties in with what I ended up doing lastly in terms of like my professional career or my 9 to 5. I worked for a software company. Once I got my money together, I ended up investing in myself. So I ended up doing like an evening coding course. And then that just gave me the confidence to create the Black Girl Finance website. And then in terms of deciding how to work with women or how to find customers, I think I was quite fortunate in that, Black Girl Finance is a very kind of in your face standout name. So, it kind of says, I'm for you. So I ended up, being booked to do like speaking gigs and I got offered a book deal as well because I started to write some ebooks around budgeting and building an emergency fund, and that those ebooks were seen by an editor and they were like, you sound like you can really talk about this subject to people in a way that's not kind of intimidating or not all of the jargon. So we started off offering financial coaching, and that was just creating a space for Black women to talk about, the financial goals, dreams, hopes, and provide, guidance. And we've now moved into offering, regulated financial advice and planning. And we do that through a partnership with an organization called Women's Wealth. So I'm really happy that it's kind of started in one place and gone on that journey. And now we're able to service, clients, across the whole spectrum. And on that point, let me just add, I am currently training to become a qualified financial advisor and planner. So again, we offer the financial advice and planning through the partnership where they already have existing financial advice and planners. So just while I get trained up, basically. So it's a process. I'm still learning, never stop learning, never stop growing. And it's a way of, like I say, just growing the business in a slightly different direction.
And one of the things that I know that you do with the community is that you run challenges. Can you tell me about the challenges that you run? Is it like a 52?
No, so we don't necessarily run challenges. We will typically run kind of workshops. So we'll have either external speakers come in and share their expertise. So we've run workshops around topics such as getting on the property ladder, how to start investing. We were doing monthly budgeting sessions together, just so that, to create a space for the women of the group to just sit down and focus on budget. So we run lots of sessions, lots of useful sessions to get the group just handling their finances.
You've just had the festival, haven't you? Is it?
We had it a few months ago. So we had it in March, so like 3 months ago. We always do it in line with International Women's Day because I want us to be included in the conversation. So how the festival looks is we have lots of different speakers. We started off with a lot of female speakers, Black female speakers, like financial experts, influencers. And then, the audience is a lot of, Black women. So that's how we started. And this year, when we had the festival, we also included some allies as well. So we had some male speakers there to provide their knowledge and information. So yeah, it's a really great day. So I'd recommend you come and join the festival when we put it on next year.
So in terms of your event, so you mentioned the event that you guys had in March. But is there anything else where people can tap in more sort of face-to-face, or is a lot of it virtual?
No, so our event is in person. So it's the second year that it's been in person. So if you want to see us, want to meet us, want to meet our finance coaches, do come to that event. And we do it annually. In between, we do the virtual events. But another thing that I love to do is, provide opportunities to come to events with me. So I might get invited to, a talk or an event. And, if someone from the community wants to come along, if they're free on that day, I will always extend an invite. And I just love that. It's a place I love connecting with, our community. And just providing the opportunity to go into spaces that maybe that, some of our members wouldn't have the opportunity to go into.
Mm. And obviously, Black Girl Finance, so it's Black women. What sort of prompted you to sort of niche your market and your audience, as opposed to saying just Black finance or women's finance?
So I think it was, for me, I grew up in a household that didn't speak about money. So I really wanted to change that. Why specifically Black women? I guess I looked at all of the statistics around, things like the gender pay gap and the ethnicity pay gap, and some of the data around kind of how Black women fare when it comes to finances and over the long term. So I remember reading an Age UK report that the risk factors for pensions poverty was, being from, a diverse background, being a female, renting, and there are a number of different things. So I really wanted to kind of start and tackle, the financial kind of disparities there. That was my driving force. Have I thought about kind of opening it up? Absolutely, yes. And maybe that's something we'll do in the future. I've already got the domain for Black Boy Finance, but haven't done anything with it. So yeah, we will see. Watch this space.
Yeah, and did I see that you or Black Girl Finance had won an award recently?
Yeah, so I'm a British Bank Award winner, which is, like the Oscars of finance. So, I'm really proud of that. So I won that in might have been 2021 or 2022, just after the book came out. So that was for their online influencer of the year. So I won that award. And recently we won I won a We Are the City Rising Star Award. So yeah, again, that was fantastic to win that award in recognition for the work that we do at Black Girl Finance.
Where do you think people struggle the most, or Black women struggle the most with their finances? Would you say it's in the saving, it's in the budgeting, it's in the debt management? Where do you find most people, when they find you, what is their issue?
I think it's a lack of confidence, you know. I think that's where it kind of stems from and starts from. And I think, you know, one of the questions I always ask before doing any financial coaching or working with a client is, you know, how do you feel you are handling your finances on a scale of like 1 to 5? And, you know, it's very rare that someone will say, you know, put themselves at the higher end of the scale at a 4 or 5. And I see a lot of people who, based on kind of our criteria, so how we would kind of mark them. So what we're looking for is, you know, how financially resilient and capable they are. So, you know, do they have things in place such as an emergency fund? Do they have those insurances taken care of, like, you know, things like life insurance, income protection, even private medical insurance could be something that a business owner has, you know, because they don't want to be out of work for too long. Are they struggling with debts? And typically, you know, we might speak to somebody who rates themselves as like a 2, but they are quite financially resilient. They just don't feel as confident or comfortable as, you know, as I would kind of maybe rate them when it comes to managing their money. So I think confidence is key. And I think the clients that I speak to are so varied. So, you know, I can be speaking to someone one day who is, you know, particularly struggling with their, you know, with their budget and maybe, you know, struggling with finding a strategy for paying down debt. Or the next day I can be speaking to someone who, you know, they're good at managing their money, good at managing their finances. However, they just don't know what to do next. So it's a real variation of kind of clients.
You mentioned confidence and their lack of confidence, or people not even recognizing perhaps they have certain skills and that they, you know, like they may have some debt, but they may actually be really good at, you know, having a little side hustle or something like that. You know, they don't recognize their own skills. Talking about it from a sort of your background perspective, so you say Caribbean background, etc. How did you see the women around you managing or, you know, talking about money, if at all?
My immediate circle, so like my mom and my immediate family, I should say, my mom, I feel like she wanted to be an entrepreneur. So, you know, she was very hardworking. You know, nothing was given to her. She had to go out and establish herself and find her feet. And she did well. You know, she raised 5 children, you know, got on the property ladder, saved up for her pension. We never went hungry. We were all, you know, okay. When I was young, went on a few holidays, you know, courtesy of mum. So we never went without. And I do remember her kind of setting up these small businesses, whether it was, you know, maybe like the Amway, or I'm sure at one stage, you know, she was going to set up like a car repair business with my brother. So I feel, and there was always lots of books in the house about, you know, entrepreneurship. So, you know, the Think and Grow Rich. I don't know, all of those kind of books. They were always there. Yeah. So it was there, but I think for her it just didn't quite take off because she had lots of responsibility and it was just her. So for her it didn't quite take off, but like if I look back, I can see the desire for her, and I remember the conversations being had about potentially starting something. Other people in my family, not from a family of entrepreneurs at all. I would say in my immediate brothers and sisters, I probably the first person to start a business. And the wonderful thing is that, like, I've got a twin sister. She's now got her own business. You know, she works as a occupational therapist and she does private practice. And her business is thriving. There's lots of demand within that sector. And my other sister as well, she has a little side hustle, a little side business. She's very creative and she's an amazing recruitment consultant. So, you know, she's really, really good at her job. So I'm from really accomplished, I'm around really accomplished women. So yeah, but I mean, traditionally like a family of entrepreneurs, no. My sister's in a process of doing additional training so that she can have a second business, which is in, you know, therapy and counselling. So I don't know what that's going to look like for her, but I'm sure she's going to be amazing at it when she does it as well. So Yeah, and my son, I've got a son as well. My son's an entrepreneur. He's had his business since he was 16. So yeah, so we've started to form the entrepreneurial circle has started to become present in this generation.
But I think that's interesting as well because that's an attitude, isn't it? So someone like you sees it and you're like, you see the opportunity. Somebody else would see it and be like, this is really overwhelming. There's way too much. Where do I even start? So
Yeah.
if somebody is looking to do that, that sort of side hustle or like move away from their traditional roles, it's like, where do they start? Where is a good place to start?
I think education. So as well as taking some time to invest in myself. First, I had to put money aside, tell myself that I was worthy to kind of invest in myself. So that kind of idea of paying yourself first, for a long time I didn't get it. So I was working hard, I was on the property ladder, everything looked shiny and great on the outside, but actually I had debt that I needed to kind of deal with. So when I kind of got a handle of the debt and committed to investing some money in myself, it just meant that when I had these ideas bubbling around in my head, I was able to take the courses that enabled me to just put something out there. So as well as doing the course, the coding course, I also did a little kind of online course around writing an ebook because I had no clue. I was determined when I created Black Girl Finance to write a book, but I'm not from publishing. I don't know anyone who's published a book. I kind of had to figure it out myself. But I think I was just so determined at that stage, even though I didn't know the route to getting where I was going to get. There was just that time of my life where I was just like, I'm going to just invest in me. And that just meant creating. And it was a real switch because I think, like I mentioned earlier, I was, in my mind when I was younger, I was more of a scientist. I was going to go down some sort of science route. And suddenly all of this kind of creativity came out, came to the surface. And it's not creativity that wasn't always there. If I think back, I remember writing, and being quite good at English kind of language and literature. So I remember writing just for fun as a child and swapping stories with like my family and cousins. So I think a lot of what I'm doing now is what 16-year-old or younger Selena would have done if she had that confidence back then. But in terms of your question of how to start, I think invest in yourself, invest in the things that you enjoy and like, and just do one thing at a time. You don't have to kind of launch everything all at once or try everything all at once. Just do one thing at a time.
And I think also in terms of what you do, in terms of that coaching facility, that's quite important as well because again, I think it can be really overwhelming if people go into a space and they've not really got a roadmap or a blueprint as to how to do it. So they're just being bombarded with like 20 YouTube videos around, you can make 100,000 in a month.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think for that, using those transferable skills. So towards the end of my career in the business development, I started off pretty much making calls on the phone and then ended up, going out to client meetings and presenting and, communicating and building those relationships with clients. So when I decided, okay, I'm going to add on, the coaching part of the business, I really tapped into those existing skills. So again, that would be another lesson. So to tap in, I think you mentioned transferable skills. So tap into your existing skills. They're so valuable. I think sometimes when we're trying to do something else or something new, we kind of discount all of the old skills that we had in the past, but they are so, so valuable.
I'm just coming back to this point about confidence again, because I think for me, one of the things that you talked about was the self-investment, starting with investing in self first. How would you suggest somebody sort of built that savings up to, what would be, to ensure that they could do that safely and not worry about bills?
So there is like a tried and tested formula, and again, it's something that I'm very cognizant of now that I'm training and learning to do financial planning and advice. So I think the first step is to just know your numbers. And I know probably heard it a million times before, but it's kind of like facing your front. Look at what's going on. If you feel really uncomfortable we can obviously access our bank accounts, statements, etc., from our mobile phones really, really easily. If that gives you anxiety, you have to push through that. You really have to try and push through that uncomfortable feeling just to see what's going on. And once you've done, worked out what your income is and what your kind of expenses are, if it doesn't add up, you're in a place of empowerment. So rather than feeling disempowered by looking at the numbers, you've got an opportunity to do something about it. But you need to know what's going on before you can make effective changes. So that's why that first step is important. And then I started off with small amounts, little and often. There's this perception that in order to be a diligent kind of saver or investor, you have to start off with large chunks of money, but that's not the case at all. You can start off, very simply. You can automate the process. So you can set up a direct debit, or you can use one of these apps that allow you to do roundups, round up the pennies, even if you feel like your budget is so squeezed. The best thing to do is get into the habit once you know your numbers, and then you can escalate from there, because as your income increases, so too can your savings increase. Be honest with yourself what's going on and just start. And if you have to start small, it's okay. It's more about the habits rather than the amount to begin with.
Yeah. And do you notice a difference in your clients between those that are in a relationship and those that are single, in terms of like a money mindset or sort of like a savings or debt mindset?
It's quite an interesting question. I think obviously we don't make financial decisions in a vacuum. There are all of these considerations, and particularly as Black women, even more. I mean, recently on the in the WhatsApp group, we were talking about the black tax. We were triggered by, there was a Am I an a-hole article that was talking about someone's husband giving money to their family kind of behind the partner's back. They were furious, and a lot of the women in the group were furious as well. So I think money in relationships, it depends on the dynamic, but I think one of the most important things is, if you are in a relationship, if you are joining money together in some way, shape, or form, don't lose yourself. I think one of the things that we see for women in general is that maybe their partner's money is their money, but for the woman in that relationship, it's their money plus the children's money, paying for the nursery fees plus the children's clothing and all of that. And I think that message, don't get lost. You're still important. Your financial well-being is still important in the construct of your relationship. I'm also an ambassador for a charity called Surviving Economic Abuse. So that's kind of another level of financial exploitation. So another thing to think about when you go into relationships, making sure that you prioritize your financial well-being and your partner also does too, is really important.
Yeah. And I think I was talking earlier about black tax with somebody, because I feel like that's something that we haven't addressed as a community. It's there. We all acknowledge it. We don't like it, but it's just never addressed. And so,
Yeah, it's definitely not very much addressed. Like, we know it exists and we know that, we must be aware of it. But at the same time, I think what we need to do is really understand our kind of money mindset. Where does that come from? Are you always giving because you want to be loved, you want to be liked? Are you always giving because you want to be in control of somebody? If you're the person that they always come to, does that mean you're able to influence them in some way? I think we really need to do that deep dive as to, if we look around and see people who are giving at the detriment to themselves in particular, they really should stop and question why that is. What are they kind of getting from it? And then also there's the cultural expectations as well, those cultural influences, which, yeah.
A lot of families, the first time they talk about money is when somebody has passed away. Mm-hmm. And then you have that thing of like, there isn't a will,
yeah.
Mum would have wanted this, etc., etc. who's going to pay for the funeral, those kind of conversations. And that's where I think black tax comes in quite a lot. So in terms of the financial planning, is a lot about generational wealth and ensuring.
Yeah. You might not have had those money lessons. So you might not have had someone put money aside for you, but when you have your own, little one, you can now do that. So I'm a grand auntie. So my nephew has a 4-year-old now. And one of the things, as well as encouraging my nephew to kind of save and build up his savings, his pension pot, and like, what about your little one? And so, I share that just to say, we may not have had those pots ourselves, but we can build them for, our little babies. And yeah, I mean, I've had experiences of I've lost my partner, and that's a whole nother story about, did he have a will in place, who came out of where to claim what and arranged what and all of that. And it's a nightmare. So yeah, having those things in place, letting your family know what your wishes are, and not just letting them know verbally, writing it down. So these things do get contested. People do challenge wills and all of that. But at the same time, just protecting yourself so that, hopefully there's no arguing about what somebody wants at that stage. So
yeah, I think there is something about us not doing that enough, having the conversations about, and then, like you say, putting it in writing. In terms of because I think a lot of what's out there in terms of financial advice is very individual. So it is very much around, this is what's good for you as, a thing. A lot of the people that we have as our audience, they have businesses, and I have staff. I'm really concerned about ensuring that I'm not just sort of making myself wealthy. How do I ensure that, because you're coming from that business development side, are there any things that as an entrepreneur moving into being a business owner I should be thinking about?
Number one, realizing that your business is an asset. I think a lot of us underestimate that. When you're building up your business, don't just build it as a business. You want it to be successful, but just realize it is an asset. It will go into, you can put it in a will, who gets it, should anything happen to you. It's an asset. It can be part of your net worth. I think definitely thinking about that.
And you mentioned sort of like, you're training to be a financial advisor. You're working with an organization that has financial advisors, so that, etc. But what are you thinking about sort of, where will we see Black Girl Finance, let's say in 24 months time? What's in the works? What's bubbling away underneath that we're not seeing yet?
So at the moment, it's just getting people to know that we are offering the new service. So we are offering financial advice and planning. We want to be the number one company that Black women in particular, come to get that service. So that's one vision. So in 24 months, I would have completed my training as well. So that will all be done and dusted. So we'll be all go live there. And then I think the larger vision is to be global. So at the moment, we are very much UK based. So it's just building those kind of international connections, because obviously, Black women we're global. And I remember having a coaching session with someone. They were saying, Selena, black people are the global majority. And I think sometimes being in the UK, you can forget that. So, definitely, an international kind of flavor to what we do. So whether that's the event, doing it internationally, or just opening up the community to more people from overseas.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you this has been really useful. So is there anything that you'd like the audience to know? Well, first of all, where can they find you? I think Black Girl Finance is everywhere, but I just want to make sure everyone knows where to find
you. Absolutely. So we have we're on Instagram. It's Black Girl Finance UK. And we also have our website, so www.blackgirlfinance.co.uk, and you can book a coaching call. We have a blog on there, so lots of hints and tips around how to manage your money, and some interesting dilemmas, finance dilemmas as well. And yeah, any kind of events that we do, we will always put details on our website for that as well. And you can also join the WhatsApp group from the website as well. So yeah, I'd say our main kind of hub social media hub is Instagram, but our main kind of website, if you want to find out what we do or have a chat, book a speaker, because I do speaking as well, is the website.